When you hear the rhythm, start to move.
Hi everyone, my name is Varia and this is Shameless Careers, a podcast about career change. Please do subscribe to this podcast. It really helps me grow it and bring career change stories to people who may need it, who may feel stuck in their careers. Today I'm super excited to interview my guest Sofia. Sofia used to work at a large prestigious asset management firm where she was building a successful career for more than 11 years. After that, Sofia had kids, took almost 2 years parenting break, and after that she decided to change her life completely and pivot towards something that she is super passionate about. Sofia is a women-only certified personal trainer, nutrition coach, and corrective exercise specialist. Sofia, thank you so much for being here with me today, and I can't wait to ask you all the questions about what it was like to leave such a prestigious job. How did kids influence your attitude towards your career? And also, how did you discover what you are passionate about?
Hi, Varia. Thank you so much for having me here on Shameless Careers. It's super exciting, and I'm looking forward to our chat.
So first question, let's start maybe before we go into what it was like to leave finance, let's go from the very beginning and discuss what it was like to go into finance.
Sure.
So obviously you did a finance degree at LBS. And I was wondering, how did you choose this degree? Did you always know that you wanted to work in finance, or did you consider some other options?
So before I went into the university, I thought about a couple of things that I could study based on my interests. And those were mainly in chemistry, biology, and mathematics. And on one hand, I really liked all the numbers and analytical parts, so the finance was quite a straight choice there. And then on the other hand, biology, chemistry always interested me, so medicine was my second thinking direction. I in the end landed on finance and proceeded on learning. First it was accounting, audit, then I moved on finance, obviously did degree at London Business School, and I loved it all. It was really great fun, it was very challenging at times. But enjoyed every minute of it. Maybe some parts of it I was preferring move a little bit more into the strategy, a financial strategy, research a direction. And that was the kind of direction which I afterwards took within the firm which I joined.
And just to check, sports personal training was never featured back then. You never thought about this as a path for you. It was never even an idea or an option.
I never really thought about it as a career. Thinking back, just a little bit, refreshing my memories of the childhood. I think I got my first, was it a DVD? It wasn't DVD even, it was a cassette of, I think it was Cindy Crawford or one of those, the fitness fashion icons when I was, I think, 14 or 15. And I loved doing all the movements and gymnastics in my living room. I didn't really think much about it. It was all about just keeping fit, Cindy Crawford looked amazing, so it was great to just do what she was doing. It was fun. And then I always went to the gym. But it never really crossed my mind that it could be my career.
Mm-hmm. And so now that you're in a large asset management firm, what was this experience like? Did you feel fulfilled? Did you feel like something was missing? What was this journey like?
I was so excited. I was really over the moon when I joined, and I really dug fully into it. I remember coming to the office at 7 a.m. in the morning, leaving sometimes close to midnight, and it didn't even feel like I've just worked, 15 hours. It was just great. The company was growing, I was growing with it, I was increasing my skills. There was lots of analytics, there was lots of talking to people, communicating, educating, explaining, all these things that I really, really love. I enjoyed doing what I was doing.
And then, am I right in understanding that the next big career milestone for you was when you had kids? And then you realized that you are taking parenting leave and a career break for a couple of years.
Yes, the childbirth really affected me quite a bit. And funny enough, it was affecting me differently after each of my children. So after my first child, I still felt quite strongly connected to my office job. So it was my life has expanded a little bit, but I still saw my purpose in being within my employer and basically helping them grow. Then I had the second and the third child, and I guess over time you feel that the need and desire to share yourself a little bit more with your family and with your children, and you kind of reassess a little bit what's happening around you. And I guess it just led me to thinking, what if I do something else? What if I stop this routine? And it was very, very hard because I always was in a routine. It was school routine, it was university, first university routine, second university routine, obviously business school, it was work. So it was a little grain of thought starting there, which I kind of kept on spinning in my head and thinking, what if?
And what do you think was the most important factor in this thinking? Was it kind of that you feel like your children are growing and they will grow up at some point and you don't want to miss this time? What was kind of this? What is it about kids that make you think, okay, maybe something that I was so passionate about before is not actually as valuable to me anymore,
I guess it was a combination of factors. So I had 3 children by the time. One of them was very tiny, required lots of attention. Another one required more attention due to some various other reasons. And also at the same time, I felt that it was 11 years that I spent with my employer. And while I loved it very much, I felt that maybe there was time a little bit to broaden out a little bit my horizons. I didn't know how, so I wasn't sure. So in fact, it was very hard for me to decide to quit. So I tried to ask for a sabbatical. Yeah, just to give myself like a slow withdrawal from work, which luckily was not agreed, which I think is great, because I think if my employer gave me a year sabbatical, maybe I would have gone back, and then afterwards probably regret it, but they were quite straight with their thinking. And to be honest, I think it was really great that they did that. So it gave me time to sit down, to think, and actually see what else I would like to do.
And what options, as you were thinking about it, have you considered? Was it an option, for example, to go back to a different firm in the similar industry? Did you consider like going almost back to the same industry, or did you feel like, okay, no, I want a more drastic change and I want to change industries altogether?
Right, it was a funny one. Basically, we're talking now 2018. So it's pre-COVID, which means the flexibility, the work flexibility wasn't as available anymore yet at that time. So even if I decided to go to a different company, I probably would have still had to go with the same kind of hours that I had with my previous employer. And that's not what exactly, I wanted a bit more flexibility. I wanted to be able sometimes to pick up my children from school or drop them off to school, kind of be there, maybe have a play date, something that they would enjoy, something would help them grow, take them to a museum, I don't know, so many options. So I started thinking more about kind of a career that would give me that option of flexibility. And there were a couple of things that I really thought would be quite nice. So one of them was fitness, and the second one was having my own gardening business. Because I was always very fascinated about the plants. Again, biology, I guess, coming in here. So
yeah, see, it all goes back to childhood. That's why
back.
I ask everyone this question, like, what was it like in the childhood? What were the signals, They are there.
It's funny, yes. So biology, I guess, really kicked in. So I bought all the books, about horticulture and all this stuff. And yes, I started reading and learning and so on. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. But at the same time, also, something was happening with my body. So I wasn't recovering well after my third child. So I'm not going to go into details there about postnatal recovery, but I just wasn't healing well. I wasn't feeling myself. And it was not only about losing extra weight, I didn't care about it. It was more about how my body was functioning, how maybe my back was hurting, how I was running out of energy very quickly. So kind of this was always on the back of my mind. And obviously because having your own gardening business is a very physical job. So I kind of started thinking maybe not. And at the same time, I was looking for somebody to help me resolve my own kind of physical issues. And I looked around in my area to find a women kind of specialist, postpartum specifically, and I couldn't find anybody. And then I thought, okay, I can't find anybody. I need this fixed. Maybe there is something here for me to do. So I started going to the gym. Then for fun, I basically get certified as a personal trainer. Then I expanded a little bit into anti and postnatal, so working with pregnant women and those who just had a baby. I helped myself. I healed myself. I resolved my issues. And then I thought, okay, might as well help others. And that was the way it's basically started.
You know, it's so interesting that people do say that, look, oftentimes creative ideas and business ideas come from like when you experience something personally as a personal problem, and that's like it's such a perfect example of that. And yeah, and what was it feel like as you started getting into it, like getting certified, like how did you understand, like, wow, yeah, okay, that's for me? Like, did you feel excited? What were the signals that made you confident that, okay, that's the path for me?
I always loved exercise. Okay, this was always something that I enjoyed. I couldn't do it when I had children or when I was working full time, but I kind of always going back into this. It's just the joy that working your body the way it's intended, rather than the way, unfortunately, sometimes we have to when we are, in a modern world, we spend much less time moving, and it obviously affects how we feel. So, and I felt that kind of going back to basics and being more active, it just made me happy. And obviously the fact that I managed to fix my issues, also I felt I want to make other people happy as well. Get their issues resolved or get them to feel this joy, really.
Yeah, and some people, I can't remember. There was what's the name of the motivational speaker who's super famous? That guy. Anyway, I'll put it in the show notes. So he did say that oftentimes we start fixing like our mood and psychological issues first, but actually the first step should be bring your body in a good, in a good setup. Like go for a run, take a cold shower. Basically, that his point was that oftentimes our mood is so affected by our physical state, and actually address this first, and then if you still if your mood is still negative, then it's something about the mood. But it could be that fixing the physical state may fix it.
That's it. It's just because our bodies are meant to move. That's what we always did evolutionary, right? I don't know. Prehistorical man, 5,000 years, 4,000 years. I don't know. I don't remember timelines. It's all now, with my children, it's all now about dinosaurs. So it's going back much further. But we are destined to move. And modern lifestyle, as helpful as it is, unfortunately, it stops us from doing that. So we have to make a conscious effort to move. And so our bodies but they're not used to this. They want to move. They want to not sit in a chair for 12 hours a day. They don't want to sit on the couch and using remote control. They want us to come up every maybe 20 minutes or 1 hour, at the worst, and move about. So yes, definitely. When we don't move, our bodies send us signals that this is not right. There's the other processes within our bodies, they don't happen as effectively anymore and as efficiently.
And I was doing some checkup, and they told me that if you sit for 50 minutes, you should, after that, take at least 5-minute break and stand up. That it's actually bad for you, and that made me super paranoid, because in our desk jobs, if you're working in the office, it's not even weeks, it's months, years that every day all you do is sit. And then I realized when you run, there are some knee issues because you don't you cross your legs and you don't exercise some muscles. The fact that we are sat all the time, it seems not a big deal, but actually if you're doing it for years, I do think that some physical consequences are becoming obvious, and that's just not great for us.
Absolutely.
In general.
Absolutely. Yes, and it's very scary. As you said, 50 minutes or an hour, you need to start moving. So actually not moving after 1 hour, you're increasing your risks of all kind of cardiovascular diseases, comorbidities and so on. So we must make an effort. But as you said, when I was working in the office, it's easier said than done. I remember sitting, having my lunch straight away, bringing it with me. So come in early in the morning, 7, 8 a.m., sit through the morning, have my lunch there, have all the calls at the desk. Sometimes it's hours before, and then you don't drink your water, you don't even, stand up to go to the toilet. So it's all just accumulated effect.
Yeah, and food is also another whole separate topic. How do you find time? You sometimes don't find time to cook, to eat healthy, and that's another thing, that if you're stressed with work and if you work long hours, you sometimes neglect your eating routine as well, and then it's okay, it's just bad for you, and it should be top of mind to kind of fix it, but then everyone is very busy and it's really difficult to do it. So yeah.
Absolutely, and I guess this was one of the reasons why I decided to do precision coaching, nutrition qualification, because lots of my clients are actually very busy women who spend a lot of time in the office. They're very, very stressed, and they have to, go to convenience food. And unfortunately, it's just a double whammy of not moving and convenience food. It just has an effect on our body. I mean, probably when we think about fit body, we think about somebody with lots of muscles, little body fat, but it's not necessarily the case. People might look fit and healthy, but what's happening inside we don't know, and that's why nutrition is so important. And currently, there's lots of kind of insight happening or research happening into our gut health. How freshly prepared food, or maybe just raw ingredients, something that hasn't been processed and turned into ultra processed foods, how beneficial it is for us. Because I'm working with women, and my clientele probably is between 30 to 60 years old. This is my demographics. There is a lot of I come across a lot of perimenopausal and menopausal and postmenopausal women. And this is one area which has always been hugely neglected by research. And how what we eat, especially at this very, very vulnerable and sensitive group age, how it affects our bodies, how our bodies function, how we feel. We are more than 50% of the population on Earth. But until very, very recently, we didn't know that actually having like Mediterranean style diet, for example, can significantly reduce symptoms of the perimenopause. We didn't know about that. So this is a huge kind of opportunity to educate women. And that's what I'm trying to do with my clients as well, just to try to make their lives better, try to make them feel better about themselves, and obviously also get them stronger.
And do you feel like everything that you talk about somehow makes what you're doing now more meaningful to you? And the reason why I'm asking this is I'm always wondering, this theme comes up in many interviews, that people feel like when they are able to help other people, it suddenly makes the job super, super meaningful. Do you feel like comparing employment, like office, corporate career versus what you're doing now when you have direct impact on people? Do you feel like it makes the psychological difference that what you do feels more, meaningful?
It's absolutely mind-blowing how different it is. So first of all, I spend my days making people feel better. Okay, I spend my day making people feel stronger. People, when they feel better and stronger and healthier, they will share it with you. So this feedback comes at me regularly. And when you get up in the morning and you get a message that your client, went out and then some pictures were made, and then she noticed that her posture is much better, and she always struggled with bad posture, and she realized that this is the strengthening exercise that helped her with that. Or maybe the client has realized that as simple as, and it's going to be a funny example, that when she grates her parmesan over her children's pasta, her back doesn't hurt anymore. Okay, so there's simple examples like this, and my clients, they always share their feedback. So it comes to me every day, and it just makes what I'm doing so much more meaningful and enjoyable.
And what about the practical aspects of day-to-day? For some people who may be in in corporate jobs right now, but maybe thinking about doing something like what you do, or maybe in a different area, but working for themselves and become a solo entrepreneur. What do they need to know about in terms of the lifestyle? What is it like? Obviously, we've discussed flexibility is there, so that's great. It means you're in control of your time. But what are other, I guess, benefits, but also challenges that come with this type of lifestyle?
Of course. I'm a one-man orchestra, basically, in my job. So when I say I work flexible hours, that means that I will work the time when my children are at school, then I'll take care of them, and then I'll go back to working at night. So it's very hard to just work the smaller hours, but because I have this flexibility of doing it whenever I have time, that works for me. However, being one-man orchestra means that I'm my own compliance, I'm my own website designer, I'm my own advertisement agency. I'm also marketing myself. I need to educate myself, so I'm constantly doing courses and diplomas to get better at what I'm doing, to be able to answer my clients' questions. So I have no support, and this is different from what was happening when I was working for a big corporation, because Marketing, we had a marketing team, they do the job. Then compliance will check, all your documents, that everything is nice and clear, and, you're not breaching anything in there. Then you're going to have, specialists in particular areas who are going to address something that maybe you're not as good at. So there will be obviously a web team who will build your design, and make sure your products are all there, your research is there and so on. So here, it's all on me, but it's kind of stressful, but at the same time, it's very remunerating. It feels great to be able to do that. I mean, I had to acquire all those new skills, but it feels good because I think every time we face a challenge, and then we overcome the challenge, it makes us a little bit happier. And this is one of the things I think where resistance training maybe is such a feel-good training, because we have to push ourselves to lift just a little bit heavier, just a little bit harder, just be a little bit more uncomfortable. But then as we keep doing this, we get stronger. And then there is no ambiguity there. You lifted 50 kilograms 3 months ago. Today you lifted 70. This is very clear. This is 20 kilograms progress, right? So it's obvious. So it just makes people feel good. It makes me feel good when I have those challenges, and makes my clients feel good.
And what, looking back at the employment and all these incentives that are there in terms of pay, promotion, when you are there, obviously it is super important. But now now that you are outside of this bubble, what is your impression of that? Do you think much about it? Like, what do you think, I guess, about this value system now, being an outsider from that space?
Yes, going back to those days, it was extreme. In the beginning, promotions and being appreciated and like visibly appreciated was very, very important for me. And I guess maybe that explains why I was spending so much time in the office. That was driving me much stronger before I had kids. Then afterwards, my world has opened out a little bit up. It's spread. So the importance of promotion was still quite important for me, but it was not the driving factor anymore. It was more about still enjoying my job, but also being able to have 360 lifestyle where I could spend some time with my family. I could spend some time with my children, but also deliver for the business. Now, obviously, there are no promotions anymore. There is no thinking about it, but there is a constant internal drive, and I guess everybody's different, but in my case, I like to deliver the best services possible to my clients. And if you think about my clients, they're women, but they're all individuals. So all of them will have their very, very different bodies. They will have different histories, they will have different jobs and so on. So there's all different factors will affect how I will work with them. So there is no single, so there will be a single way where there are going to be two people who's going to be doing the same things. So everything is very, very individual. And I guess that's where personal training comes into the play. What this means is that I need to learn constantly more and more skills to be able to address those individualities. And that's, even though this is not like a promotion, but me learning more and acquiring new diplomas and certifications, in my mind, I'm growing. And I know I'm growing because I can answer more questions from my clients than I could maybe 5 years ago. So I guess this is where I can semi-compare the two.
Yeah, and what comes up in my mind when I listen to you speak about what you're doing now, everything you say is it speaks to intrinsic motivation. So you are excited to learn more, to answer, to provide better service to clients. And actually, one of the pillars of intrinsic motivation is increasing the mastery. Like, we're super excited and motivated when we see we progress, we can do more, etc. While I often observe that sometimes when we speak about corporate careers, we more refer to extrinsic factors like pay, promotions, like am I good enough? How are people assessing me? And yeah, I don't know. I feel like this nuance is quite important, and yeah, I do feel there is some contrast there in these two parts.
That's absolutely true. There's also, I think, maybe it happens as I got older. I stopped really thinking about what others were thinking, but focusing more about what I think about myself, how good I've done today. Have I done the best for this client? Have I delivered the most services I could? And that what drives me to, sometimes I come from the session, I'm thinking, okay, did it go well? Because every session is really a mini presentation. So if you think about it, because I can see a client every time. And I'm kind of doing a mini analysis if I have my 10 minutes between different clients, and I write down what I thought was, what was working well, what didn't work well. But it's for me to make sure that next time it goes exactly like that. I feel good about it, that I know that client got the best services and so on. But yes, it's a very interesting question about intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation and how it can change over time.
Yeah, and that's another thing that oftentimes, like a lot of career coaches are speaking about the fact that you should align your career around your values, but then they do recognize that these values may change over time. So to your point, like you maybe didn't value flexibility as much before. With kids, you're valuing it a lot now. So yes, kind of this guidelines I guess change as we change, like what we value changes, and as a result how we organize our careers around us also may change as well. And the other two pillars, by the way, of intrinsic motivation are autonomy, so having control over where you work, with whom you work, when you work, and this is something that we've talked about, and that's super important. And funnily enough, we have also talked about the third pillar, which is doing something bigger than yourself, like helping others. And we have just discussed how important it is for you now to help other people. And that's really the third pillar of what drives an intrinsic motivation for someone.
That's it. You exactly nailed it. This is that's I think that's maybe a difference why some of us are happier than others. And I know not everybody is in a position where maybe they can make a career change, at a click of the fingers. And sometimes you have to build up to this, you need to consider other factors. And everybody's life is very, very individual. So I think what works for one person might not work for the other. But I think for those who have flexibility, who can, or maybe they don't realize they have flexibility. Sometimes we are so much running in a little hamster wheel that we created for ourselves, just always going for that next big thing, maybe comparing ourselves a little bit too much to others, that we kind of almost missing the point of life, of happiness, of satisfaction, those pillars we just talked about, intrinsically motivated, kind of intrinsic motivation, and then which leads to happiness when you tick those boxes, when you meet those, when you have those pillars in your life. But again, it's very, very individual, I think it takes time for some people to arrive to this, or maybe some people just cannot do that because their life is just different for them.
And maybe this is, and one thing I would mention to this is that I think the setup, like you can be intrinsically motivated across formats. I guess when you are working for yourself, you can shape it a bit in line with what motivates you in terms of like bigger purpose, autonomy, in terms of mastery, like you can shape it. But I feel like if you're in the right company, it can be big company or small company or a startup. It's almost not about the package. It's more about what do you feel like is purpose for you? What do you feel, where do you want to have more mastery? What type of flexibility you need? And kind of, I'm sure that there are a lot of different permutations that can be found in these different formats. It's just that, I think with bigger companies, I guess the structures are more rigid, so it's probably there will be like constraints to this, if you see what I mean. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that I think we should always start with self-awareness, like what do all these three pillars mean for us individually, and then see kind of, okay, across all the options, from solo entrepreneur to a huge corporation, what type of companies could this be? Like, what type of format could I realize all these aspects most in, if you see what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's excellent. This is an excellent point. But one thing I feel sometimes we miss is just being able to sit down and think about those things. Because even if I start thinking about my life, so it was a rush, it was primary school, secondary school, exams, university, second university, business school, job. So it was constantly get better, get promoted. There's no time to sit down and thinking about it, like that maternity, my last maternity leave, which then I then I quit from my current job. There was the time when I had time to sit down and basically not do anything. Oh well, okay. Meaning not do anything, it still means I still looked at 3 children, after,
Yeah,
all other things
let's
that
not
this
forget that.
involves, and so. But what I mean, I didn't have to do that, the rush, go to the office, and so on. So I had time to really be able to think about my life, and I think that would help me to discover that passion, to understand what could bring me joy, what I could do, because lots of people just don't have the opportunity to stop. They just keep going. When the job they don't like, maybe they switch to the next job, and then you just keep on going and you never have time to sit down.
Yes, because I think it's scary to sit down and not do anything, because while you're sitting down and letting yourself time to explore, like everyone else is working, you feel like you are underperforming, you're not doing enough, you're not being productive. So it comes back to these external pressures that you were just referring to,
That's it, 100%. And actually thinking about it, I just recently been reading this book by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and right in the beginning, he's talking about it. He says, you need to have a vision, right, about what you want to do. But to get the vision, you need to have time. And his idea is, again, finding this mindful moment. And for him, it was a walk, and he had several examples of other people who had these visions, when they were just on a walk doing nothing, just literally just walking, emptying their mind and letting yourself find yourself.
Yeah, actually, I read a book about this. It's called Rest, and it basically gave a point that when we are, like, the reason why sometimes some great ideas come to you when you're showering is because exactly that's the moment when you're not focused on any particular task, but in the background, your mind is still working and processing your the impressions and experiences you have had, and it may give you some insights that you will never get if you're in a focused problem-solving mode. Mm-hmm. And it just goes to show that actually it's so underappreciated how much across all our careers, like it's been such an oversight not to give yourself time. Like we're rushing into degrees, we're rushing into career paths, jobs, and we don't let ourselves to sit still, to explore, to go travel, like and even try out different experiences and experiment just for the sake of it, And yeah, I feel like that's why so many of us like end up at some point with understanding, okay, I don't know what I'm doing with my career, I don't know what my purpose is, like completely disconnected, I guess.
That's it. And burned out.
And burned out as well, yeah. And so, and as you got these moments of mindfulness and you were, like, as you had kids and had some time to figure out what you want to do next, how did you treat, I'm sure some thoughts like this crept in, like, okay, I have had all these amazing years in a good prestigious firm. I can continue growing. I can continue earning and progressing. Like other people who I worked with will continue earning and progressing. Like how did the thoughts come to your mind and how did you deal with them?
It was really, really scary. Just the thought of not having full-time job and kind of coming out of my routine was mortifying for me. Partially because, again, I mentioned that I was always in a routine all my life. So even when I was on maternity leave, I knew I'd be back to the office. Partially because it was a good income that I was making while being part of a big company. So this was making me think, will I still be an independent, woman, independent person, as my parents always taught me to be? So it was scary. But on the other hand, since I was working, I was always kind of being quite frugal with my finances, and it's just the way my family brought me up. It's just the way I guess my husband's family brought him up. So this played in my favor. So when I then eventually decided to make that step and, cut loose, whatever we call it, the decision was made a little bit easier because I had a little cushion, as if compared to if I didn't. And I know not everybody's in the same position. So, and that I think that can make decision maybe a little bit harder for some people.
Right. So having some kind of financial security like can help and think that, okay, even if I don't earn as much as before, I can still kind of cover my bases, figure out, grow something out of this afterwards.
Absolutely. And especially the being a personal trainer, it's an amazing job, right? So I love what I'm doing. But the first couple of years were very, very hard because I didn't work for a gym. So I didn't have clients coming to me. I was a self-employed personal trainer. So I needed to find clients. I needed to, to bring them in and keep them staying with me, and it was very, very tough. So, but luckily, again, because I had that little cushion, I could afford that. I could afford. So that was the time when I kept on investing in myself and learning new skills. So I thought, what, if I'm not that busy, I'm going to acquire a new skill, a new qualification, a new diploma. So by the time when my client base grows, I'm fully equipped to help everybody with whatever they need,
And just and the last question on the practical side, I guess, in terms of growing the business right now, can you speak more about this process? And it's more like for people who may be wanting to do something similar, what is this process like? What is this process like? How are you finding your clients? Is it easy or difficult to find new clients? Like, can you speak a bit more about that?
Sure. It's still quite hard, but because I'm working in my area, so I'm covering the area where I live, and because I already have quite a good client base, a lot of it is word of mouth. So the importance of delivering a good service is key, and when you make people feel good in their bodies, when they achieve what they want to achieve, or even more, they want to share with others. And also their friends will notice that they look better, they have some more definition, they can do things they couldn't do before. So the word spreads. That definitely helps.
And looking back at all your experiences, obviously you have seen the two career extremes, big company, being a solo entrepreneur. What advice would you give to people who may feel a bit stuck in their career, who don't know what they're passionate about and don't know what next career step to take?
I'd say start with slowing down. And I'm not meaning it just don't give 120% to your current job. No, just pick yourself some time, or some, I don't know, pick yourself some activities where you can relax and clear your mind and see if vision maybe comes to you of what you would like to do. If this doesn't happen, try different things. Go take a, cookery course, go to some Pilates, yoga, personal training sessions, see if you like sports, or maybe you like painting, go to painting classes and find out. So trying different things will help you see what if there's something that really makes you excited about it. Be prepared that if you decide to change your direction, that you will have to acquire potentially even further more skills than just the skills in which you want to work. So as when we discussed, so running your own business, being a small business, you not only have to deliver the service that you deliver, but you also have to be your own marketing compliance, website developer, everything else, accountant, tax accountant, all those things. And finally, be prepared that it might not work. So do you have your math, do your math, have your plan B, maybe, or be prepared, that can you push through the times, maybe through harder times,
Have a safe financial safety cushion or something.
That's it, yeah. What would you do if, say, I don't know, you're not getting your customer base, for example, in the beginning? What's your plan B? Are you just coming out of it? Are you giving up? Or maybe you are, slightly changing the direction. So have this a little bit of a decision tree in your mind, just to be a little bit more prepared for what to come your way.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sofia. And how can people find you? And please do outline what type of services do you offer so that people know when and to contact you.
Oh, thank you so much, Vare. It was really, really fun to be here with you. So you can find me, or those who are interested can find me on my website, which is www.fitnesswithsofia.co.uk, and it's the same. What's it called? a tag on Instagram. I don't know.
No idea. Add
one of
something.
those. Add something, yes, on Instagram. And I work, as I mentioned, with women only, and I deliver personal training services. I'm very passionate about corrective exercise, which means helping people acquire better posture, work on the compensations that maybe their bodies are going through, help them move better, feel better in their bodies, get stronger, and also nutrition coaching.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sofia. I really, really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you, Varia.
Let's go.